Boom, what it is YouTube, it's your boy here, Ali Fuladi, back at it again with another video here on Fooladifitness. You already know what's going on, but if you're new to this channel and don't know what's going on, this channel is me helping you guys elevate your lives mentally, physically, and spiritually. So if you're on that type timing, make sure you join the Fooladifitness family the gangway by hitting that red subscribe button down below. And while you're at it, make sure also drop me a like and leave me a comment to help support this channel's growth. Of course, don't forget to turn on that post notification ring bell so you get notified next time I drop some heat for you guys. Alright, now that we got that out of the way, let's get into the topic of today's video. You read the title. Today we're going to be talking about my spiritual awakening. So without further ado, let's get right into it. I just want to make this point clear before we really get into this video. I do not condone the use of any illegal substances. I'm just here to explain my experiences and share my story. So with that said, if you motherfuckers decide to partake in these type of activities, do not hold me accountable for that shit, my man. Because again, I'm not supporting nor am I against the use of these substances. At the end of the day, it's all on you. And now with that little disclaimer out of the way, let's start cooking. So to give some background story prior to the event I'm about to describe to you guys, your boy did dabble around a little bit with the world of psychedelics. Yes sir, through the use of psychoactive and hallucinogenic drugs, including lysergic acid dithylamide, also known as LSD, as well as psilocybin mushrooms, aka magic mushrooms, I became introduced to the whole rabbit hole of reality. So with that said, yes, I did have prior experiences with these substances before my quote-unquote spiritual awakening. But this time, we upped the gravity levels on that hoe. And the reason I say quote-unquote spiritual awakening is just that shit is so cringe, man. Mainstream media has taken that word of being woke and completely butchered it, so much to the point where it's become a meme. But all in all, that is truly the best way to define this event, because prior to this I was essentially asleep, a zombie just going throughout life without a clue of what was actually going on. But it's through an event like this where something clicks in you and you finally wake up from that dream. Now another way I like to look at this is brought to you by my man Za from the channel Mada Sudana, aka False Entity. Undoubtedly one of the best spiritual YouTube channels out there. The man spits game and spreads real knowledge without all that feminine and hippie weird going on in the spiritual community. But the way he describes it is BC versus AC. BC being before consciousness and AC being after consciousness. So before consciousness, you were essentially asleep. And now through experiencing this consciousness, you have become awakened. So whatever you want to call it, sleep versus being woke or BC versus AC, just keep that in mind as we go throughout this video. Alright, so with that said, let's rewind this back to 2020. As we all know, big shifts were happening to the world globally. The basic structures of society seem to have hit the pause button at that time. Everything that we once knew was true was crumbling right before our eyes. And for some people, they took this time to take a step back and rethink a lot of things, while the rest of the crowd decided to up their volume on their Instagram, Netflix, and Uber Eats use, essentially just distracting themselves from all the bullshit going on, hoping that it would all blow away. Now, I was one of the people who took this time to expand my perspective. I started to come across some self-development type things that were also connected with spirituality. Now, prior to this time, I wouldn't consider myself a spiritual person, but growing up, I always knew there was something bigger and better controlling this whole universe. But during this time, since a mother had really nothing to do, I decided to start adding these small things to my life to see what was good. Now these were just small things like meditating, getting out in nature more often, doing cold showers, and just overall more habits to help me become more mindful. Now as time went on, I noticed how these habits and how these routines started to change my life bit by bit. The best way I could put it is that it felt like I was becoming more in tune with myself. And I'm not saying that in a physical or bodily way, but it felt like I was connecting more to myself mentally and spiritually. I started to become more aware of what I was doing and asking myself, why am I doing these things? A lot of us just go throughout life never asking ourselves, why am I doing this certain thing? We've just been so programmed into these habits that we never question them. They've become ingrained to your brain and act as muscle memory. So I just started thinking about things like, why the am I on social media? Why am I going to school? Why am I hanging out with these certain groups of people? Why do I want these certain things out of my life? Like you see, I'm just getting into more deeper and deeper introspective thoughts. So as I got deeper and deeper into these practices, I decided to drop certain things out of my life. Whether that was social media, wanting to chase this party life of college, wanting to be accepted and validated by the others around me, and wanting that version of success that people told me was the only way you can live a successful life. So all in all, a big shift was happening in my lifestyle. And once I started to drop these certain things, I started to add them in with good habits I thought would actually help me. Now this brings us to a big moment of my life. If you've been a supporter of the Fooladifitness game for quite some time now, you might recall one of the first videos I made on this channel, how to start reading and actually enjoy it. At this point in my life, I had never read a single book in my life. I just had a wall built up in front of it due to how school forces you to read some bullshit you're not interested in. But like I said, when I started to become more aware of what I was doing, I started to ask myself why I'm doing these things. It was my ego and my past experiences that were blocking me from new things. Now I did have some thoughts and ideas of what the ego was and how it works at this time. And this was due to listening to podcasts and talks of some of the most famous psychonauts out there. See, when I got into psychedelics and smoking weed, I loved it. All the trippy effects and cool visuals really enticed me. And through that, I ran into these famous psychonauts. And the most notable of them for me was Terence McKenna. See, when it comes to psychedelics, it's these visuals and these effects that really draw you in. But when you really look deeper, you understand there is something beyond just cool visuals. These are guides, these are teachers, these are mentors. If you take them responsibly. A lot of people who are scared off by psychedelics usually listen to some stories about some jack kids who themselves up taking these drugs. But these substances have been a big part of human history. Now, I don't want to get too sidetracked into that topic because I can ramble about this for hours and hours. But if you look back into history, especially in religious and spiritual practices, you can always see the direct link between psychedelics. So when I was listening to these podcasts and to these talks, usually faded off that gas, I was just really taking in all this information and realizing what the hell I was experiencing on these drugs. And quite often, Terence McKenna referred to the ego. He described the ego as a sort of cage that trapped our true selves from being fully expressed and fully experienced. Now, I sort of got what he was saying, but at that time, I wasn't too deep into these things to fully understand it. So to tie that back into what I was talking about, I decided to say, hey man, that ego shit, let's try reading. And to be honest, bro, you ain't got shit to do, so go ahead and try doing something new and productive like reading a book. So that brought me to copping this book right here, Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse, which is about the life of the one and only Buddha. Now you might be wondering why I chose this book as the first one I'll ever read in my entire life. Well, like I said, growing up as a kid, I was always curious about what was beyond the life that we see. And I didn't really grow up religious or anything like that, but I did attend church for a little bit of time in my childhood. And man, the way the teachings were delivered just never stuck with me. See, I messed with the message, but the delivery was just so off point that it never really got into my brain. So I went throughout my life knowing that there was more to this reality than what we see, but I just didn't know what it was, man. And when you add on psychedelics and smoking weed on top of that curiosity, these deep introspective thoughts became more potent and prevalent in my life. And top all this off with meditating meditating, visualizing, getting out into nature, all that other stuff I was doing during this time. Man, the curiosity just kept building up. Like when I'm spending more time out in nature walking my dog, I'm looking at all these different types of trees and noticing all the leaves of them. And in these leaves, they all have different geometric patterns in them. And me being the lunatic that I am, I would just sit there and think to myself, bro, there is no way this tree just knew how to grow their leaves in this certain pattern. There has to be someone or something creating this law, order, and pattern we see in everything in life. And this led me down to sacred geometry, which is intertwined with Tibetan Buddhism. So I was just like, bro, if these motherfuckers also see this and can understand it, they most definitely got some of the answers I'm looking for. So I had to start with the man who started it all, which is none other than Siddhartha Gautama, aka Buddha. Now I don't want to spoil this book for you guys who are interested in reading it, but it basically goes throughout his life of becoming that enlightened being that we hear of today. And as I read it, he also had a similar experience of BC to AC himself, a wealthy prince living in luxury and comfort, unexperienced to what real life in reality was like outside of his pearly gates. But he too knew deep down there was more to this life than what he saw. So with that said, he decided to leave his comfort zone and enter the unknown. Now that's all I'm gonna say about this book, so if you guys want to read it, go ahead and get to it. But a funny part of this book is when Siddhartha finally entered the real world. To start off new, he decided to shave his head and get rid of all of his clothes. So me being the goon that I am, I decided to follow the same path. Your boy got himself with that straight yak, full buzz cut Buddha style, as a symbol of a new fresh start as well as an ego death. Now I'm getting deeper and deeper into my meditations and getting what I like to call as downloads from the Supreme Consciousness, which is also the universe or God, whatever you guys would like to call it. And it was telling me that it was time to tap back in. And shit, you know what that means. It's time to trip, motherfucker. And now this is where the fun starts. So quick tip, this is how I've done all my trips so far and how I will continue to do all my trips later on. Out hiking in nature. I never understood those people who decide to take shrooms or acid and sit down in their room. I personally get crazy amounts of energy. I need to go run around and be outside when I trip. Trust me, this method is the best way to go. Get out into nature, bring some water, bring a journal, whatever you want, some music, and have a good time. Those people who sit in their rooms, or even worse, go out to these raves with thousands of people around you and blasting music in your ears, are the ones who usually get these bad trips. But back to what I was saying, me and a couple of homies decided to plan out a trip to this massive waterfall hike. And of course, this hike would be accompanied with psychedelics. And the drug of choice for the day was psilocybin mushrooms. Bro, what is this? I'm talking about hallucinogenic drugs like it was the catch of the day at a fish restaurant. So we all plan to take about an eighth each, which is 3.5 grams for anyone out there who is not a degenerate drug user. Stay in school, kids. Now this is a proper decent dose that'll get you tapped in like a touchscreen. So we all portion these out, pop the gooms, and start the hike. So everything's going good. The nausea, the jitteriness, and come up anxiety is coming in right now. But that's expected with the onset of taking psychedelics. And as these gooms start to kick in, I'm getting that kaleidoscope vision, that woozy color blending effect, and my favorite part, the sacred geometry is showing up. And that's expected because I've taken an eighth before. But as I'm walking down, something unusual happens. I start to hear a voice, and the voice is saying, take more, take more, take more, take more. Now I'm just like, what the was that? But my logical consciousness is telling me, dog, you're on hallucinogenic psychoactive drugs. You are literally tripping. And I'm just like, yeah, you're probably right. Let's just keep going. But then the voice came again. Take more, take more, take more, take more. And this time it was even louder. And the weird thing is, it wasn't even in English. But somehow I still managed to understand what it was saying. So now motherfucker is getting a little spooked out. Now 2 of the homies didn't finish their full eighth, and we had about 3 grams left. So I thought to myself, do I listen? Do I take more? it, man, let's up the dose. So me and one of the other homies decided to split down this 3 grams. 1.5 grams added on to the 8 that we already took. And if you do some quick maths, that's gonna add you up to 5 grams of psilocybin mushrooms.
2 + 2 is 4, -1, that's 3, quick maths.
Now that, ladies and gentlemen, is a considerably big dose. Now I've never taken that much mushrooms before, but I decided to follow my intuition as well as that voice behind it. So now we're cruising down and that initial 3.5 grams is kicking in. And as a tradition to enhance the effects of psychedelics, it was time for a much needed blunt break. Now if you didn't know, burning some gas while you're already tripping on psychedelics will make the effects go up to the next level. So now I am pretty geeked up as we come down the mountain. From that desert looking mountain, we enter this green, lush, huge forest on the way to the waterfall. And I'm feeling good, man. The nature is just bellissimo, beautiful, and we're just all having a good time. And as usual, when I trip or smoke weed, those introspective thoughts come knocking at the door. And now with all these different self-development practices I've been doing, those downloads are kicking in. Fully zoned out and tapped into the void, just in awe of what I am experiencing at the moment. In fact, I am so zoned in that when we finally reach the destination of the waterfall, I am in another world, yo. Mind you, we did not see a single human being till this point. And now, of course, when I'm peeking as we pull up to the waterfall, it sounds like a concert going on. And I'm talking, they're playing like 3-4 different types of music on speakers. People talking, yelling, laughing, swimming, jumping off cliffs, kids running around, dogs barking, twerking, bro, the whole 9. And I am gone at this point. And this is without the extra 1.5 G's even kicking in yet. So just to make this point clear, when you're tripping, everything is enhanced and amplified. So all this stimulus was just turned up to the max. All I remember at this point was looking at my homie who was also on the 5 grams and just shaking my head and being like, bro, I am too geeked for this. So we all post up at the waterfall and it seems like everyone is staring at us. And with my shaved head and huge dilated pupils, I'm just looking around like, these shrooms are hitting hard, dog. So now I decided to go ahead and take a little dip in the water. And like I previously said, I was doing cold showers and everything during this time. I thought I was gonna be chilling, man. Everyone else is jumping off, swimming, and having a good time. But now since I'm geeked up on these gooms and everything gets enhanced with it, when I get into that water, bro, it is the coldest I've ever experienced in my life. So cold to the point where I just decided to freeze up and go underwater. And as I'm sitting there under this cold water, I'm getting crazy closed eyes visuals, totally engulfed in what I was seeing in my own head. I didn't even realize that I can't survive underwater. Bro, I don't know how long I was under that water, but it was definitely for a fat minute. But that last ounce of sanity I still had left in my head told me to get the out before I drown myself. So I dip out and go over to sit down. Now all my homies are climbing up onto this rock and hitting these cliff jumps. And I'm trying to go up there and join them because I love doing shit like that. But I notice I cannot move. Literally, I could not move. Similar to sleep paralysis, if you guys have experienced that. I was trying to move, but I simply could not. It was as if the shrooms were telling me, hold the up. I was trying to get your attention to take some more. So it's time for you to sit your ass down and learn some secrets about life. And at that point, it was game over. So much was being shown to me through visuals and closed eyes visuals. But the main thing that started to happen was an ego death / outer body experience.
Yo, what? You can hop on my car. Billy Coop riding with stars. Yo.
See, prior to this, with the doses I've taken of 3.5 grams, you're usually not gonna get this type of ego death or outer body experience. But since I decided to up the dose, it was time to pay the price. I started to detach from myself and everything I knew. This physical body I had was no more, and these mental thoughts I had were no longer there. The only thing left was my soul and my true essence. Everything I knew started to dissolve right before my very eyes. Like, for example, before the gooms really took me out into the deep end, this one lady asked someone what time it was, and I was just thinking to myself, what the is time? And the person responded back, it was 3 o'clock. Bro, what the does that even mean? 3? What the hell is 3? I'm telling you, man, once you get into these levels of detachment, everything you knew starts to go. Then a whole replay of my life was being shown to me as an outsider looking in. I like to call this perspective the bird's eye view. You're seeing everything from up above. And after this recap of my life was shown to me, a monumental moment happened which really changed my life. Everything started to zone out and slow down. Every inhale I took made the sun go up to daytime, and every exhale I took brought the sun down to nighttime. I'm breathing in daytime, I'm breathing out nighttime. Day and night, like it's a damn Kid Cudi song.
Day and night.
And slowly out of that, a figure started to form. At first, that figure was one circle. Then one circle became 2. Those 2 circles then became 4. Those 4 circles morphed into a sacred geometric shape called the seed of life. Then the seed of life became another sacred geometric shape known as the flower of life. And finally, the flower of life shifted into what is called the Metatron's cube. All these sacred geometric shapes that really got me into psychedelics in the first place. But without saying anything, I realized that this was a message the universe was trying to communicate with me. And this message was about the cycle of life. Life is just made up of basic patterns that revolve around cycles. Like I said before, breathing is a good example of that. Inhaling, exhaling. Day, night. And these cycles can be seen in everything else. Eating, walking, moving, talking, sleeping, everything you can think of is based off this pattern of cycles. When you walk, you go right foot forward, left foot forward, right foot forward, left foot forward. When you conversate with someone, you talk, they listen. They talk, you listen. And the most notable cycle that makes up life is none other than life and death. At this point, since I'm no longer attached to myself, I assume that this is what death was like, which is an end to that cyclic process and just pure presence. But I was shortly shown a lesson again. Now my attention was being directed to a tree. This tree was massive as and the biggest one at that waterfall. People were swinging off it, using it as shade. Birds and animals were using it to live in and all that other stuff. And I realized this tree was serving its purpose, accomplishing the mission to be that tree that it was meant to be. Nothing more and nothing less. And this realization quickly synchronized with the one from before. Without fulfilling your purpose in life, you will be stuck in this continual cyclical existence. If you really look at it, all our pain, struggle, and discomfort is essentially to break out of our cyclical existence and experience peace. And usually we think once life is over that we will finally experience that. Hence why we say RIP or rest in peace after someone passes away. But what was shown to me was going against that. Without fulfilling the purpose that you are meant to do once you are brought to this world, you will never be able to rest in peace, since you'll be stuck in that cyclical existence of life. And this was just so eye-opening to me, man. At this point of my life, being 21 years old, I didn't build anything or achieve anything great, let alone know my purpose in life. But I noticed the life I was heading towards was going to pull me further away from that purpose. A life of pleasure, a life of mediocrity, and a life of unfulfillment. And as I started to calm down, I went off by myself and started to reflect. What do I want to build that will last beyond my physical death? Because I got one shot at this, man, and I cannot waste this opportunity. I've said this before in one of my earlier videos, but you even being alive is a miracle in itself. I think it's a 1 out of 400 million chance that you were born. That means out of the 400 million sperm that came out of your dad's nutsack, you were the one that won the race. So if that isn't enough motivation to get up off your and get on your purpose, bro, I don't know what the is. But these were just the thoughts that were going on in my mind after all that crazy shit. Because prior to this, I had a near-death experience. And that was one of the main areas that we got stuck on through the whole replay of my life. I was just thinking to myself, man, if I died there, I'd be so pissed off and unsatisfied with how my life went. I didn't commit to any purpose in my life at that point. Granted, I was only about like 19, 20 years old at this point, but man, I took this as a wake-up call that I really needed. Now, obviously, I didn't know what that purpose was, but this led me down to a path to slowly uncovering it. I became obsessed with deprogramming all the bullshit in my head and starting off new. It seemed like everything I was taught in life to that point was the exact opposite of what was being shown to me. Essentially, that ego that was programmed into me was keeping me blind from the truth. And once I got a little taste of experiencing this truth of life, bro, there was no way I was gonna go back. I made it a point to go deeper within myself and discover my true purpose. And the core is the deepest layer of you. This is also where your true essence is found. But unfortunately, it's covered by layers and layers and layers of bullshit. You need to individually go and peel back each and every one of those layers till you finally reach the core. So at the same time as I was doing this and discovering more about myself, I inevitably also started to discover more about the secrets of the universe. And this is what led me to what you see today. A life against the grain of the typical norm that you see in the Western world, but a life that is also going back to the basics and to the roots of time. All these material and societal things that I used to care about meant nothing to me anymore. The only thing that mattered to me was figuring out what my purpose was and going full force 100% into accomplishing it. Because through what was shown to me, I understood the only way I'd experience that blissful nirvana state that I was experiencing in that time was through fulfilling my purpose and ending this cyclical existence once I pass away. And all in all, this slowly started to develop me into the person that you see right now in front of your screen. My priorities in life have shifted from pleasures to purpose. And the things I'm searching for has shifted from fun to fulfillment. Because I know this is what will bring me peace at the end of the day, which then brought me to discover my true purpose, becoming the best version of myself mentally, physically, and spiritually. And along with that, to inspire others to do so as well, spreading my gifts to the world, helping others realize theirs, so eventually they can do the same, inspiring others to their own unique ways. This became the birth of the Fooladifitness brand. My spiritual awakening wasn't just about me, man, but more about what I can bring to the world and serve my duty. You all know what your purpose is deep down. It's just hidden under heaps of programmed bullshit. And the information I'm trying to dish out to you guys on this channel and through this brand are the methods to cut down all those layers of nonsense and hit your core. There's different tactics and ways to tap into your true essence. And these methods are known as self-development. You essentially become more in tune to the self. And it's there where you'll find your true purpose in life. And that's what this brand is all about, man. Elevating one's mind, body, and soul to unlock their true potential of life. Remember guys, we only got one shot at this, so why not live it up to the max? Again, you were the one lucky one out of 400 million sperms out of your dad's nutsack that won the race. Don't take this for granted, man. Do something with your life. We're all blessed in unique, different ways. Realize these gifts and put them to use. Bring value and leave an impact on this world before it's all said and done. And that's where you'll truly find the peace that you've been searching for all this time. So before we end things off, here's the main takeaway of this video. Life is impermanent and death is guaranteed, but death might not be as bad as we have perceived. All in all though, while you're still here alive and breathing, it's your job and your duty to improve yourself to the highest version possible, not only for yourself but for the people around you, because it's only then when you tap into your true essence that you can share all your gifts and talents that you were blessed with to the rest of the world, which is exactly accomplishing your core purpose in in life, to be a being and a bringer of light in this world of darkness, inevitably leading you to ending the cyclical existence of life, allowing you to finally rest in peace. Namaste. And that's going to wrap up the video for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed it and got something out of it. If you did and you still haven't managed to subscribe to this channel yet, make sure that changes right now. And while you're at it, make sure also drop me a like and leave me a comment of other topics like this that you want to see discussed here on Fooladi Fitness. Because I'm really out here trying to provide you guys, the people, education, entertainment, and enlightenment. I'm trying to build that interactive community with you guys. So go ahead and leave your suggestions in the comment section down below. You got to give me that feedback, man. I need to know the pulse of my audience. So talk to me, I'll talk back. Of course, before we end things off, don't forget to turn on that post notification ring bell so you get notified next time I drop some gold for you guys. Once again, it's been your boy here, Ali Fooladi, in the field, in the flesh, the young OG, dropping y'all that game so you guys can make these gains. And I'm out of here. Peace.